10 players already immediately. Shoot, you know what?
Go ahead, take it.
Hold on a second, my daughter. Hey, what's up?
On this video, we're going to be talking about the best fantasy football strategies, the pros and the cons. I'm Alan Seslowsky here with Peter Schoenke. What is the best strategy for fantasy football in 2021?
The best strategy is number one, learn your league rules. It makes a big difference. 2 quarterbacks, 3 wide receivers, only 2 wide receivers. What are you starting? That's the starting point. That's where everybody screws up. Once you've got that figured down in a standard 12-team, 3 wide receiver starting, 1 quarterback league, top 5 picks, really maybe top 2 this year, I'm taking running back.
What happens if you're picking at the end of the first round? Does the strategy shift a little bit?
But once I'm getting to the middle to the end of the draft, I'm going wide receiver. Historically, running backs bust at a 20% rate. So that means, there's 10 running backs being taken in the first round this year, but, via most ADP, 10 out of the first 15. 2 of those are going to be busts. Last 5 years, that's 30%. So 3 out of those 10 running backs are going to be zeros. I mean, they're not going to even be, someone that's contributing to your team most of the season. Meanwhile, wide receivers, they don't bust as much. They don't have as much upside, but they don't get hurt. So this year, my 5 top wide receivers being Hill, Adams, Metcalf, Ridley, Diggs. The 5 of those, the last 4 years, they've never finished worse than 30th among their position, which doesn't sound like much, but you're still starting them all year. So that even if you get a year like Tyreek Hill 2 years ago when he had a shoulder injury and only played 12 games, he still was a top 30 receiver. So if you're starting 3 wide receivers every week, you were starting him for 12 weeks over the course of the season. He's still getting you enough value to be worthwhile. And that's like a terrible season for him, right? I mean, he's been very, very consistent otherwise. He's still helping you get in the playoffs.
Do you advocate taking a tight end, Travis Kelsey, in 2021 in the first round?
I mean, there's definitely some scenarios and setups, look at your rules, where that is valid. But generally speaking, and he's probably the exception, but generally speaking, tight ends drafted that high are not really worth it. I think that the thing that people underestimate about fantasy football is their ability to start the correct wide receivers every week. People are always like, I love the middle wide receivers. I love the late round wide receivers. Middle wide receivers are where it's at. You know what's tough about that is you draft 3, 4, 5, 6 really good wide receivers. You're going to have so many of them on your bench, in matchups that you don't think are good, or vice versa. It's very, very, very difficult, even from the best fantasy expert, to pick the correct wide receivers each week. I'm trying to take wide receivers each week that you just set it and forget it. You have a Diggs, you have an Adams. You're plugging them in your lineup every week. You're not even thinking about it. You're not stressing about it. So you're not going to leave some of their good weeks on your bench. And then later on, I'm taking running backs early and late, and quantity over quality. Because what happens with running backs is it's really binary. I mean, they're either going to be playing and they're going to get touches and they're going to add value to your fantasy team, or they're on the bench or some minimal role where they're not. It's a lot easier each week to handicap your lineup for running back production than it is wide receiver production.
See RotoWire Fantasy Football Rankings for free. Go to rotowire.com/try.